right. Wait, come on, pick it up.
High school football is no joke nowadays. Those kids put in a lot of time, a lot of effort getting ready for the season. But what a lot of people don't know is they're not the only ones.
We here at the Fifth Down, we put in a lot of hours too. There's a lot of preparation that goes into getting ready to be able to bring our viewers as much high school football as we possibly can.
You gotta feel the bird.
What were the keys to victory in this one? Talk to me a little bit about your defense's performance.
Pick him up, move, pick him up, move.
Move, Jeff! Up! Chop, chop, chop! Come on, come on!
We're going to head south of Oscoda, check in with the fellas over at Au Gres Sims, who are combining with Aranac Eastern this season.
All right, change of plans, Jeff. We're going trips right, double slant, wild turkey, Z out.
Wait a minute. Z out? I don't know what that means.
It means we're going to Tawas next. Come on, man. Study the playbook.
When you're underneath the Friday Night Lights, you gotta be your best.
Come on, man. Get your forehead. That glare is going to blind our viewers. There is a lot of pressure to perform well. You can't afford to get rattled, and if you slip up, the people will let you know about it.
And the late touchdown proved to be the difference in this one. The Wildcats hang on to win 14-7. Now we're heading up to Rogers City, home of the Vikings. And we picked this one up in the first where they're on the drive.
Guys, I know it's been a hard couple weeks, but it's all going to be paying off on Friday nights. Ready? Fifth down on 3. 1, 2, 3, fifth down!
It's time now for the Fifth Down with Jeff Schaefer and Travis Kozak.
Welcome to the 2012 Fifth Down Pigskin Preview. I'm Travis Kozak.
And I'm Jeff Schaefer. Every Friday night we'll bring you plenty of action from the high school gridiron throughout Northeast Michigan.
But before we get started this year, let's take a look back and see how our local squads fared in 2011. The Alpena Wildcats managed just one win and finished at the bottom of the Big North standings. The conference sent Petoskey and Cadillac to the playoffs, but neither team made it past districts. In the 8-man game, Posen picked up 2 wins, just enough to qualify for the first MHSAA 8-man playoff, where the Vikings dropped a rematch with Cedarville.
2 Huron Shores squads stood out in the league's second season. Whittemore Prescott and Tawas each won their first 2 conference games and met in Week 9 for the title. The Cards shut out the Braves 20-0 to win their second straight league championship. Both teams reached the postseason but couldn't escape round 1. Tawas fell to Iron Mountain, while Whittemore dropped a tight contest against the Ski Valley champs from Mansalona.
Speaking of the Ski Valley, Johannesburg Lewiston's only league loss came to the Ironmen. John Bush's squad went 8-1 and hosted Beale City in pre-districts, but the Aggies got the better of the Cards on their way to a district title.
As it has the past few seasons, the North Star League title came down to a clash between Mayo and Hillman. Thunderbolts blanked the Tigers 22-0 on their way to a perfect league record. Led by Fifth Down Player of the Year Grant Price, the Bolts finished 7-2 and traveled west for a playoff date with Frankfurt. Mayo made a late game push but couldn't overcome an early deficit against the Panthers.
Hillman hosted Rudyard in its playoff opener. The Tigers kept things close and were driving late in the game with a chance to take the lead, but a red zone fumble ended Hillman's season.
As you can see, several teams made a splash on the gridiron last year, but with the 2012 season, everyone starts with a clean slate.
That's right, Jeff. Plenty of teams are eager for a fresh start this season, including the boys from right here in Alpena. The Wildcats got a first-hand look at what it takes to be the best this preseason, opening their fall with a 3-day camp at the Alpena Combat Readiness Training Center. The camp gave the squad the opportunity to build team camaraderie and learn from our country's finest.
It's great for our kids to see, what goes on around them, out here, and see all these guys who are sacrificing and, their call of duty with, for serving their country, and a lot of kids really, really enjoy it.
The Cats are coming off a rough season in which they only found the win column once, but Alpena's head man says the 2012 group will rely on their experience and take things one day at a time.
Well, I think last year we had a lot of young kids play, so a lot of kids gained some, really valuable experience. We just want to get better every day. And we talk about every play, every series, and every game. We just got to get, better from what we were the day before.
Now we're moving from 11-man to 8-man football in Posen, where the Vikings are coming off a trip to the first 8-man playoffs in 2011. But their 2-7 regular season record leaves plenty of room for improvement. Last year's squad featured just 4 seniors, making depth a strength for the 2012 team. And despite last season's struggles, there's plenty of optimism for the coming year.
Usually we're looking at numbers, and this year we're not. So that's a huge plus right there to have the kids out here ready to go, ready to work. We can definitely make a playoff run. Last year we we were decimated by injuries. We lost probably our top 4 players right off the bat. We lost our best player for the entire season. Nick Hinska wasn't even, so that's like having a new player this year. Expectations are pretty high for the team this year.
I'm excited that we have some good players coming back, a lot more experience. We're going to do a heck of a year. I think we're going to see us go a lot farther and a lot more wins.
Don't touch that remote because we're just getting started here on the Fifth Down Pigskin Preview.
That's right. After the break, we'll head south and check in with the team to beat in the Huron Shores Conference.
And hear from the other teams who hope to challenge for the league crown.
We do expect to win a third one, but we know that it's with that, in most leagues, you can't really afford to slip up at all.
Whittemore is going to be outstanding. They lost a couple of good football players, but they have outstanding coaches, and they have a great tradition.
Whittemore's tough, man. I'm telling you, I watched them quite a bit, and coming into this job, I knew that was going to be the cat we had to look at.
They're the champions until somebody beats them.
As you can see, Whittemore Prescott is the favorite to win the Huron Shores Conference this season. And why not? The Cards have won both titles since the league opened for business in 2010. And here in Whittemore, they say a three-peat is not out of the question. The Cardinals lost running backs Cody Foreman and Anthony Bell from last year's 8-2 squad, but returned several key linemen, along with senior Tyler Yanish and junior QB Jens Gillings. Coaches and players agree there's just something different about this year's team.
Since I've been here, I would say this is probably the best start that we've had. Kids showing up on time, ready to play, just great attitude. We do have a great senior leadership this year, and I think that starts everything.
I think just the hype, the expectations from the community and stuff like that just really gets us fired up, and we're ready to play ball this year.
Whittemore clinched last year's Huron Shores title with its Week 9 victory over Tawas. After challenging for the championship, the Braves graduated a large senior class that included standout quarterback Spencer Ellis, receiver Nick Kolnitis, and Fifth Down Player of the Year finalist Tyler Samuels. And while the 2012 Braves are much younger, head coach Tim Webb says his new squad still has plenty of talent.
At a lot of our positions, we have very little experience, but they're good football players. So we got to coach them up. It's really tough to replace all the ones that we lost, but that's the unique challenge of coaching high school football. Is every year is different, and you need to try to mold your team to its strengths and see if we can compete.
Let's head north on 23 to Oscoda, where the Owls haven't put together a winning season in over a decade. But that seems to be the furthest thing from their minds. On the field, the squad plans to showcase a blend of size and speed, and on the sideline, a new face as Dave Lavasser takes over head coaching duties. And the man wearing the headset isn't the only major change coming to Owl Country. The offensive philosophy is getting a makeover as well.
We are not going to be much show. If you want, ESPN top 10s, you're going to go somewhere else because we're just going to be between the tackles and slam the ball inside and make them respect us.
Finally, in Alcona, the Tigers hope to bounce back from a rough ending to the 2011 season. After starting the year 5-0, Alcona lost its final 4 games, falling just short of a trip to the postseason. Alcona lost All-State defensive end Brock Laverne and bruising running back Andrew Chamberlain, but returns 1,000-yard back Nathan Fettis to help lead the Tiger attack. As disappointing as last year was, the Tigers say they aren't dwelling on it, and they're optimistic about 2012.
We just learn from it and we keep going. We've been working hard all off-season, and we're ready to go for this season, so I think we're going to be better.
You take your lumps and you make progress, and we're making progress. I don't feel like we've stagnated at all. I think we're moving in the right direction.
We definitely want to be conference champs, and we're definitely a playoff caliber team.
The conference is playing all its league games in weeks 4 through 6. Let's take a look at some key matchups on the schedule. Though with only 4 teams, pretty much every conference clash is a big one. Tawas edged Alcona late last season, but the Tigers get a shot at redemption at home in week 4. The next week, they travel to Whittemore for a matchup that could decide the league title. That same week hosts the famous War on the Shore between Oscoda and Tawas. Last season, Whittemore and Tawas met in week 9 to decide the conference champion. This year's rematch comes in week 6 at the home of the Braves. Stay tuned because after the break, we'll head up north and check in with our local squads of the Ski Valley Conference, which is receiving quite a makeover this season. And there are plenty of fresh faces on the sidelines this year. We'll hear from Northeast Michigan's newest head coaches.
Welcome back. Every year, high school football squads must replace graduated seniors on their depth charts. But sometimes those aren't the only new names in town. 5 of our local squads changed head coaches for the 2012 season, so let's take a look at the new men in charge.
We start in Oscoda, where Dave Lavasser enters his first year with the Owls. Lavasser moved north after coaching at Essexville, Garber, and Freeland, and the new head Owl says he's excited for the challenge.
Yeah, everything's kind of just flying by a million miles an hour, and you just got to try to throw the brakes on as much as you can. But it's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. We just kind of jumped in, everybody both feet, and got after it, and it looks pretty good right now.
Bill Yorth is taking the reins down in Hale, and while he may be the new man in charge, Yorth is not new to the program, and he says he's already been able to get a lot more out of his players this year.
You're kind of a salesman. You're selling a product, and you've got to hope that the kids buy into it, and so far the kids have bought in. It's a whole new attitude on the field, and they're working harder, they're hitting harder. I can tell you it's a completely different attitude than I've ever seen here.
In Atlanta, the Huskies are on their third coach in 2 seasons. Todd Kendrick took over for Melvin Skillman late last year, but now Troy Cheedy is in charge, and the Huskies say the former Atlanta assistant is changing things for the better.
Last year, the coaches were off to the side. You know, they were there driving us, telling us what to do, but they weren't pushing us to do it, you know. This year, he's on our back, everything we do, you know. He's got enthusiasm just like every other player on the team.
There's another assistant getting a promotion in Onaway, where Brian Whitsitt is taking over, and after inheriting a winning program from 2011, Whitsitt hopes to continue moving the Cardinals forward.
We turned the corner last year, had our first winning record in 4 years. I feel we're going in the right direction, so I didn't want to change much. I tweaking little things, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
And finally, there's a new head Huron in Rogers City. Tim Nagy is taking over after serving as an assistant at Gaylord last season. And while low numbers took some getting used to for the new head honcho, he says there's also a silver lining to a small roster.
I was a little apprehensive at first with the low numbers and everything. I'm used to being in a bigger program, but I figured there'd be some benefits. And one of those was to be able to get up close and personal with the kids, and been able to do that.
As you just heard, there will be a new head man roaming the sidelines here in Rogers City this fall, but that's not the only change the Hurons are facing. After going winless a year ago in the Straits Area Conference, RC is making a move to the Ski Valley, where there will be no shortage of competition in 2012. In Rogers City, there's nowhere to go but up. After going 0-9 a year ago, the Hurons are staying positive and have high hopes for 2012.
We got a lot more confidence this year than I think we ever did last year, so we're just a lot more prepared already, and then just excited to get out there.
I'm very positive. I don't think a lot of people are expecting too much out of us, but we're going to be competitive. We're going to scare some people, surprise a lot of people.
Johannesburg-Lewiston rolled through the regular season with just 1 blemish to their record last fall before being bounced by Beale City in pre-districts. The 2012 Cardinals have a veteran-laden squad that includes senior Mitch Hardy, who rushed for over 1,300 yards a season ago. And it is that experience that Joburg plans on using to build on last year's success.
We have a pretty veteran group, and you know, they've been anxious to get started. We have quite a few seniors this year, so they've been through it a few times before, and they're pretty fired up for the season. They like football over here at Johannesburg-Lewiston, and they're planning on trying to go farther than they did last year.
The Cards lost a key part of last year's offense with the graduation of Brian Van Coyley, who accounted for 14 TDs in 2011. But Bush believes this year's team will have no problem picking up the slack.
I feel real confident. You know, we've had these kids for, like I said, quite a few years. I've watched these kids grow up, and it's a great bunch of kids. We lose a great bunch of kids from last year, but you know what? The tradition continues, and this is a great senior group. I anticipate a pretty big year.
Losing 11 seniors to graduation and adding a first-year head coach doesn't really seem like a recipe for success, but that isn't shaking the Cardinals' confidence up in Onaway. The Cards are coming off their first winning regular season since 2006, including ending the year on a 3-game winning streak. And after narrowly missing the playoffs a year ago, the squad is using that as motivation to get to where they want to be this season.
I had some of the boys over at the house when we were watching they come onto the screen there, and we didn't get it. You know, there were some sad faces. These returning seniors and kids that had played on it last year, they've got the drive for it. You know, they're talking about it more than as the coaches having to push them about it.
We know we can do a lot better than last year. We lost a couple games in the beginning of the season. We should have won. But we're going to go out hard this year.
And with Sigsby returning to the backfield after 1,000 yards rushing a year ago, there should be no shortage of production from the Cardinals offense.
People that's paid attention from last year, they'll know Jason. He's a human highlight reel. You know, the kid's phenomenal running the ball.
I got to work a lot harder this year, and it started in the off season in the weight room, working on my speed, and I want to do a lot better this season. I know they're going to be coming out for me, but if I work harder than they do, then I'll come out on top.
Stick around, because coming up after the break, it's all about the Stars. First, we'll take a trip to the North Star League, and then we'll give you some players you won't want to miss this season.
The thing that I miss most is I love hitting people. I love not getting in trouble for it.
The excitement of a big hit.
Just hitting people.
You have a certain love for football.
The lights. Scoring a touchdown.
Monday through Friday, you work for Friday night.
It brings you together as a team. No other sport can really do that besides football. I mean, it's like one big family.
1, 2, 3, Huskies! Good job, you guys. The sounds of football are in the air, and the squads of the North Star League are ready to hit the field.
That's right. There was a bit of a shakeup in the league this offseason, but as it has the last few years, the road to the league crown could run through the defending champs in Mayo or the fellas here in Hillman. The Mayo Thunderbolts haven't missed the playoffs in the past decade and captured the North Star League title last season with a perfect 5-0 league record. To defend their crown, the Bolts have to replace several key players, including quarterback and fifth down player of the year Grant Price, receiver Todd Rondo, and 4 starting offensive linemen. While it's always tough to fill the shoes of graduated seniors, Mayo's headman says his squad is on the right track.
These guys not only were starters, these were kids that practice year-round. So finding people that want to dedicate themselves to the program, that was probably as big a challenge as anything. We've gotten as much or better effort than I would have expected. It's satisfying to see the attitude and the effort be what we need to adjust.
It's a lot different. It's obviously different people, but they're doing their jobs, put a lot of work in during the off-season to get to where they need to be.
One of Mayo's biggest goals this season is to defend its North Star title. The Bolts say they're up to the task.
I think it's going to be about the same last year, defending it again next year.
Everyone wants to knock us off. We've been good for a while, and we plan to keep being good. So people are always gunning for us. We're ready to defend that.
Despite going 8-1 in the 2011 regular season, Hillman failed to achieve the three-peat in the North Star League. Graduated seniors Caleb Zimmer and Jacob Berger both broke the 1,000-yard mark on the ground last season to help the Tigers score more than 30 points per game. But Hillman's headman believes the other side of the ball will make the difference for the Tigers this year.
I think our defense is going to be our key to win games. We got fast kids back there. It's kind of controlled chaos, I like to call it, and it seems to be working for us. So I think our defense is going to play an even bigger part in it for us to be successful than what it has in the past.
The Atlanta Huskies hope to vie for a league title in 2012 after finishing 4-5 last season. Atlanta lost some key playmakers from that squad, but returns the key cog to its spread offense, quarterback Garrett Badgerow. Atlanta has a new head coach in Troy Cheedy and hasn't reached the playoffs since the 1990s. But the Huskies say this year's team is willing to put in the time needed to extend their campaign beyond Week 9.
I've really liked what I've seen. Their work ethic's great. They're all going hard. They're pushing each other, and that's what we need them to push each other.
I didn't play basketball last year to weightlift and prepare for this season, We've been waiting forward for this season for a long time. We haven't had the best teams all through high school, and this year it's going to be different, I think.
We're more of a team this year. We're really working hard together, which is a key thing on winning. You have to be a team to win.
Hale will also be adjusting to life with a new man in charge. The Eagles started last season with 2 wins before ending the year with 7 straight losses, including all 5 league games. They haven't reached the postseason since back in 1999, and while outsiders may not expect much, the Eagles are setting their sights high.
We haven't really tore the world up lately, so I don't know that the community's expecting a ton, but that's what we would like to deliver to them is at least get a shot into the playoffs or possibly even a league championship.
Undefeated season, maybe. I mean, past years have been rough, but we can try to improve and get that far.
With numbers down, the teams from Augrey Sims and Airneck Eastern are combining their players and resources this season to form a co-op squad. The team will be known as Augrey Sims, but head coach Eric Perro says the 2 schools are represented pretty evenly on the roster. While it may sound crazy for 2 league rivals to join forces, it's been a smooth transition for the fellas down south.
Most of these kids, they were friends to begin with. After the games, a lot of these kids would go out together, or, half of them would date the other kids from the other school. And these kids have gelled really well so far.
In the past few years, like when we did play, it was like friendships gone for that night, win the game. But now they're all playing on the same team, and you're all buds and trying to win the game.
The players hope that joining forces will lead to more wins this fall. Aranek finished the 2011 campaign 4-5, while Gray went 3-6. The co-op squad will have more names on the depth chart than either team last year, and the players say that should help make this season a memorable one.
We got backups before. Last year we didn't have backups, and Eastern didn't have very many backups, and it's going to be good all around.
I'm just glad that we actually have a team to play my last year in high school, so I'm just glad that we got a team to play for.
Let's take a look at some games to watch in the North Star League this season, starting with a non-league contest for the defending champs in Week 1. Mayo coach Jim Gendernellick says opening the season against Whittemore Prescott is always a good measuring stick for his squad, and this year the Bolts hit the road for their clash with the Cards.
But they have home field advantage for a pair of important league contests. The Atlanta Huskies have a chance to make some noise early this season when they visit the Thunderbolts in Week 3.
For the past 3 seasons, the Mayo-Hillman matchup decided the league title. The teams meet in Mayo in Week 5 this year.
And you can always throw out the records when the Tigers and Huskies play their annual rivalry game. This season's Week 7 battle could have major implications on the North Star standings.
Last year, we named Mayo's Grant Price the first fifth down player of the year.
That's right, and there are plenty more local players with a shot at this year's title.
Go hit! Another North Star signal caller is one of the early favorites to become our 2012 Player of the Year. Atlanta senior Garrett Badgerow tossed 19 touchdown passes last season and ran for 9 more. He hopes to lead the Huskies back to the playoffs for the first time since the 1990s.
The Huron Shores only has 4 teams, but the conference is brimming with talent. Alcona junior Nathan Fettis already has a 1,000-yard season under his belt and hopes to carry the Tigers to the postseason after falling a game short last year. Whittemore Prescott has reached the playoffs 5 years in a row, and quarterback Jens Gillings could help run that streak to 6. The junior missed the end of last season due to injury, but is back to lead the Cards' explosive attack.
2 Cardinals from the Ski Valley are coming off 1,000-yard seasons. Jason Sigsby carried the load for Onaway last year, breaking the 1,000-yard barrier in Week 9.
And despite playing in a deep backfield, Joburg's Mitch Hardy racked up more than 1,300 yards as a junior. Another season like that could help his squad capture a Ski Valley title.
Let's take a look at a few other players to keep an eye on this season. Junior Bryson Devers is Mayo's top returning rusher and should see an expanded role in the Thunderbolt offense.
Alex Cheek is one of few seniors on Hillman's roster and will try to help a young Tiger squad reach the postseason for the 7th year in a row.
Tawas tackling machine Paul Jones returns to lead the Braves defense, and in Alpena, Ashton Deaver showed flashes of greatness last season and could help the Wildcats bounce back in 2012.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have on this year's Pigskin Preview.
Yeah, but be sure to tune in to WBKB every Friday night for the 5th Down, where we'll have highlights and scores from all your area teams.
That's right, and you can catch all of our football coverage on our website, WBKB11.com, and be sure to like us on Facebook.
You can even tweet at us to @WBKB Sports on Twitter, where we'll also post updates all season.
We'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.